All right. Let's finish up these first set of notes. So, our next, whoops, wrong page. So our next section is about factory life. So, whereas people in New England were working on farms, that's a really hard life. They are making food for their families, maybe not growing enough food to sell and make extra money, but factory life really changed the way people were living in New England. A lot of those changes were positive, but some of the changes were negative as well. So a positive for people working in the factories is that they were employed, they had jobs, they were making money. The downside of that is that wages were pretty low, working conditions were really poor. By that, it means that working conditions were dangerous. Some of these machines were very, very dangerous to people, for people to have their hands moving around. There's small pieces that they can get caught in, and they're not being paid for the long hours that they're working. Factories employed a lot of young children. Children as young as 7 could be employed in these factories, because children were smaller in stature, so they're smaller in size. Their hands are smaller, so they can work in with the detailed machinery parts. So, and they didn't have to pay children as much as they had to pay adults because they didn't have families to support. The Lowell mills were known for employing young women, and they also became known for their long work hours. People were working 12 to 14-hour days. That would have been a normal shift for them, very few breaks. And also, the factories that they're working in, or the mills, were very, very loud, very dirty. The air was filled with fibers from the cotton, so it was also very unhealthy to be working in the factories as well. All right, so some effects of the Industrial Revolution. What happened because we had an Industrial Revolution? The factory system spreads throughout the Northeast, so that's New England. Cities in New England start to become more populated. So as factories are being developed, people move to where the factories are. So we see the rise of big cities like Pittsburgh and Boston, New York City. But as cities become more populated, that means that they are also more crowded, and have a lot of problems with disease. They are this time period is when we start to see the development of apartment buildings, or what we would know of as apartment buildings, but you might have more than one family living in an apartment, so they're very crowded. And also, the lack of a sewage system means that cities become very prominent with disease. People move to the cities because more jobs are available. And a positive effect of the Industrial Revolution is that new technology that's being developed improves our transportation, trade within the United States and with the rest of the world, and the manufacturing of goods. So while there are some negative effects, there's also a lot of positive effects. And the next set of notes that we take, we're going to talk about some specific new inventions that are going to have a positive effect on the United States and the world. So your last question for this first set of notes is, what are some of the main differences that you see between the old cottage industry and the new factory system? So what I want you to think about is the description of the cottage industry and the description of the factory system, and see if you can spot the differences between the two. When you're done with that last stop and think question, go ahead and turn in this first set of Industrial Revolution notes. So you'll be turning this into Industrial Revolution Part 1.